Hey guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is Jon Campea.
Sure would be a good day if Harloff would turn his phone off.
Hey, nobody saw that crap.
Also your host of Heroes, Jon Schnepp.
What is it with Yoda and seagulls? I just don't know.
Also your host of Jedi Council, Kristian Harloff.
That's in my head all day.
Also here's Jeremy Jahns.
I'm Jeremy Jahns. This isn't water or coffee.
Whoa. Hey, guys, thanks so much for being here today. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's get started.
While the Han Solo movie is already well underway, many fans have been wondering and hoping that a solo Obi-Wan Kenobi movie will be one of the Star Wars stories we'll see on the big screen. Ewan McGregor has been very vocal about reprising his role as the Jedi Master, and now, according to Geek Tyrant, who was visiting the Rebel Force Radio podcast this week, EW writer Anthony Breznican suggested that the reason a Kenobi movie hasn't been announced is because Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of Lucasfilm are planning on incorporating him into the current trilogy in some way. He told Rebel Force, "I've heard rumors that the one reason they haven't moved sooner on Obi-Wan is that they're not done with Obi-Wan quite yet in the saga films, so I wouldn't be surprised to see an Obi-Wan solo film happen beyond Episode 9. John, what do you think this means for the possible future of a standalone Obi-Wan movie?
Okay, so let's operate just for a moment on the assumption that this is true. Okay, so let's just understand, like this, some guy talking about I've heard and blah, blah, blah. You can't go to the bank with that, but let's assume for a second that this is true. It would make a lot of comments being made out of Lucasfilm recently make sense. So for instance, we had Kathleen Kennedy recently talk about how, hey, we've got a lot of like story films planned for Episode 9, but maybe it's all going to be anthology films. Well, that would kind of line up with this. If they're planning Obi-Wan movies and they're planning all this kind of stuff, that might have their current production slate filled at the moment, if they have plans for that. What is really interesting about this is the notion that we may see Ben Kenobi again. So we had a discussion earlier today. It was like, well, would it be flashbacks? Would it be a Force ghost? I don't know if there's a third option other than the midichlorians manifesting Obi-Wan back to life. Yes, and sighs are heard around the world. But I mean, it does introduce an interesting idea that we'll see Obi-Wan back. Now again, that then gives a little bit of credibility, just the smallest tiny bit, that maybe Rey is somehow in an Obi-Wan Kenobi lineage. Otherwise, why do you bring Obi-Wan Kenobi back? It just opens up a lot of very interesting discussions. Kristian, you heard about this. What are your thoughts?
The more and more I think about this, we did a Collider News piece on it yesterday, the more and more I think about it, here's the thing of why this could be a plant. This story could be a plant by Lucasfilm and Disney. Because Anthony Breznican, or whatever his name is, from Entertainment Weekly, that guy hosts all the Star Wars Celebration stuff. EW gets all the exclusives on the Star Wars covers and the Star Wars.
Right.
You think that guy's going to sit down and say something like this of things that he heard by risking his opportunity to do that?
Right.
No, he's not. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lucasfilm kind of saying, let's throw this kind of tidbit in there. If you're going to, when you're speaking, throw that in there. And it makes sense. We've heard about the rumors. You hear in the flashback of The Force Awakens of these are her first steps from Ewan McGregor.
Right.
They went out of their way to get him.
Right.
I think it's possible that you see him as a Force ghost. I don't think that it's necessarily means you're going to get that, but I think that it does mean there's more story. There's story of him that is going to be at least mentioned in Episode 8 or 9. And if you follow from what they've been doing with whether it's Saw Gerrera or any of these other characters that they're taken from other places, Obi-Wan did have a relationship with Satine. And maybe that led into other things that happened to the lineage of Rey. We don't know. But what we do know is I think that Obi-Wan in some form or another will have some kind of relevance in 8 and 9. So I think the trilogy overall of Obi-Wan will happen, but later after Episode 9.
So you're going to call her Obi-Ray Kenobi?
No, I'm not going to do that yet. Not doing that yet.
Yeah, you know what? My guess is a Force ghost. I mean, that would make the most sense that Luke is still in contact with Ben.
Oh, so you think it would be in relation? Actually, that makes sense. It would be in relation to Luke.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it. Like, if that's the little tidbit that they're dropping, at least that's the one that makes sense to me. Please don't make it midi-chlorians. No. it's a nightmare I thought I woke up from. So,
Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, every time someone says midichlorians, an angel loses their wings. So that's two right there. Two poor soul angels. But yeah, I think the Force Ghost thing, like, because I mean, Goonies never say die. Jedi never truly die, you know? So I think we're going to see him as a Force Ghost for sure. And it's interesting that if the talk is, well, after the saga films, then we can get an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. That would put Ewan McGregor about 15 to 20 years older than he was in Revenge of the Sith, which is about the right time we would see him right before he meets Luke Skywalker. Yep. So there is that. So I feel like that'll happen. I mean, because the fact is, hey, man, it's Hollywood. If it's going to make money, it's going to get made, and people want to see an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. So I imagine it's just a matter of time before we see it.
You know, the whole theory too about Obi-Wan still communicating with Luke. Remember the end of Revenge of the Sith, we have Yoda going, Obi-Wan, training I have for you, to try to teach him. He has training for him to commune with people from beyond the Force, right? So that kind of makes sense. But I do think there's one thing we all agree on. If Obi-Wan is coming back, and if this story is true, we all agree that this absolutely definitely means that Jyn Erso is a part of the Knights of Ren, right? Right? That's what the internet says, right? So it's gotta be
Harloff
true.
was talking about it all morning, how he truly believes that, you know, right?
The 90-year-old badasses that wipe out everyone because they're all
That's why they have
super
those
old.
staffs. They're like, oh, my legs, my legs.
For those of you who know, there's a theory running around online that the entire band of rebels that we are going to see in Rogue One, they're actually the Knights of Ren.
The theory is that they're the Winter Soldier. Is basically what it is. Is that all of them become the Winter Soldier and they start running around, and then at one point Kylo Ren says, "Well, I actually have Force powers. Follow me." Okay. No.
You know what's great is when you were just talking about Yoda trains Obi-Wan to commune with the dead. Usually that's like necromancy and the black magic decks and like the bad guys. But nope, in Star Wars, the good guys get to do that. That just fascinates me.
All right, what's next?
Many fans have wondered if Rogue One did well enough at the box office, would there be a chance for a sequel down the line? Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy just made it perfectly clear in Empire magazine that it isn't happening even if Rogue One turns out to be a box office hit. Visual effects artist John Knoll also emphasized that Rogue One is and always was intended to be a self-contained film. Kristian, are you surprised at all that Lucasfilm isn't planning a sequel to Rogue One?
There is a sequel. It's called Episode 4. It's a sequel.
It's called Star Wars.
Yeah, no, and I'm not surprised at all because this goes back to the problem that we were talking about. If they, not problem, but they can't make a sequel to this one because if they, let's say they were planning on making a sequel, when would we see it? In like 2022, 2020. There's no. By the way that they're doing it right now, with doing one a year, that's when you would see it if they were going to do a sequel. Plus, this story doesn't really call for a sequel. At least I don't want it to be, or unless the Knights of Ren form in the middle of it. But no, I think for me, this is great. I don't want it. I don't mind if some of the characters that were introduced are referenced in other films, or we hear about other things that they did, or maybe that there's side pieces from flashbacks or something that we see from them, or certain characters, even K2SO, if he winds up getting away and he shows up later on down the line, that would be cool. But I don't think we need to see a story for Rogue 2, so I'm not surprised, and I'm actually happy by the news.
Okay, so what this is, if you look off in the distance, what you're seeing is Kathleen Kennedy waving a giant flag that reads, "Everybody dies." That's what this news tells me, but her coming out and definitively saying, yeah, there's no sequel. I mean, look, we've all suspected for a long time that this is the ending of Rogue One is going to be a tragic victory, right? In the sense that they're going to hold out. Their mission is to try to get these plans transmitted aboard that Corellian Corvette and get the plans to Princess Leia. They just need to hold out long enough to do it, and they're going to accomplish it, and then they all bite it. It's going to be a tragic victory. And I think by Lucasfilm basically just coming out preemptively and telling everybody, look, there ain't going to be any sequel. To me, that's just them saying, yeah, they all die. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it's like making a movie about World War II, and it's like, oh, spoiler, Hitler shoots himself. You know, like,
right.
We all know how history's going to play out, though this is not real history. We know how it's going to play out.
But wait. Inglourious Bastards told me that Hitler died in a theater fire.
Yeah.
That was a way better
Are
version.
you telling me
Hey, who
Quentin
knows?
Tarantino was lying to me?
Quentin Tarantino had a better version of history.
That's right.
I think that's way more
a much
kick-ass.
more satisfying.
Right.
version.
Isn't Rogue 2 the guy who found Han and Luke on Hoth? Like, this is Rogue 2. I found him. So I do want to know that
Repeat,
guy's
I
story. What's
found
he
the
doing?
story,
Is he
right?
peeling the potatoes on Hoth, making food? Who knows? But we're going to get sequels in the sense of more spin-off movies, but they're not going to be called Rogue this or that. There will be other spin-offs, but it's not going to be Rogue One is its own standalone thing that goes right into Episode 4, like Harloff said.
Schnepp, let me ask you this. Kristian brought up the possibility in the last story that maybe Lucasfilm with that Obi-Wan story is subversively planting misinformation.
Right.
Any chance that this is a big misdirect from Kathleen Kennedy and we're actually there are going to be survivors in this and they are going to have a sequel? Like, do you think there's any chance to that?
No, I don't. But I do like the logo. I think Ray designed the little Rogue 2. That
Yes,
made me
that was
laugh. I
great.
was like, hey, another Star Wars story. But
There it is.
yeah, very good job. It's very convincing. But you know what? I don't think it's going to have a sad ending or that everybody dies ending. I think a lot of the crew that is assembled will die, but I know, well, I mean, it's hard to say, but I know Lucas, after THX 1138, he was like, you know what? Nobody wants to see a bummer ending. And I think that kind of follows through with a lot of big blockbuster films where they, you don't want to walk out of Star Wars Rogue One crying and being bummed out. I mean, but obviously the sacrifice is to, we're going to say, they got the plan.
They save the galaxy.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell, but I don't think everyone's going to die, but that's me.
I've walked out of a Star Wars film crying. It was called Attack of the Clones. I've been there. I've done that. It might as well be for a point and purpose now.
All right, guys. Well, it is Wednesday, which means it's time for us to talk about Rewind, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. This is our little Feeling Old segment where we talk about the films that opened 10 years ago this week and opened 20 years ago this week. Opening 10 years ago, celebrating their 10th anniversary, we've got Turistas that I have no recollection of whatsoever. We have The Nativity Story, and we have the classic Oscar-winning Van Wilder, The Rise of Taj. Celebrating their 20th anniversaries this week, we have The Crucible with Daniel Day-Lewis, and I couldn't believe this one, actually. The Glenn Close 101 Dalmatians opened 20 years ago today. Schnepp, out of all these films, which ones jumps out to you the most?
The Crucible jumps out to me the most.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that, and I thought, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder did a great job in that adaptation. The one that also kind of sticks out to me, because I think I saw it on Netflix, was Turistas, but I have to double check. It's like, a bunch of dumb people go into the wild. I think it's
Isn't that
like,
how the description for almost any horror movie
Yes.
starts? A bunch of dumb people
go out to the wilderness.
Go
Either
to
they
the
go to a
woods.
cabin or a strange pyramid or a Mayan temple, and they all get tortured to death. Something like that happens in Turistas.
What do you think, Jeremy? Which stands out to you?
Yeah, well, Van Wilder, The Rise of Taj, just because if Van Wilder 2 was 10 years ago, that means Van Wilder 1 was more like 14 years ago or so, and that freaks me out. But 101 Dalmatians, I remember when they were making that with the guy from Speed as the dude. I didn't know he was Jeff Daniels. He was the guy from Speed at that point. But yeah, both of those really freaked me out. The fact that the live action 101 Dalmatians, it really,
Makes your
I'm
head
not
hurt.
old. I'm not old.
Christian.
What stands out to me is the end of November, early December, because when did the landscape change? Because you look at all these movies 10 and 20 years ago, these are not the type of movies we get
These
today.
were not the Oscar bait films.
No.
Rise of Taj was not an Oscar bait
so
film.
it's interesting that when I'm so curious after seeing these movies, none of these movies stand out to me as the answer to the question, because I mean the Van Wilder 2, because I liked the first one and then heard the second one and he wasn't in it, so I'm like, who cares? But the fact that at what point did they start saying, okay, now we're going to start making that heavy push for Oscars, and this is what's coming out now? Because you look at what's coming out this weekend and all the movies that are coming out, it's a different landscape these days.
All right, guys, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
According to Deadline, Bradley Cooper is set to star in the historical action flick Atlantic Wall with the accountant director Gavin O'Connor at the helm. Atlantic Wall tells the story of an American paratrooper stranded behind enemy lines just days before the D-Day invasion. The film is slated to shoot in 2018 with plans to release sometime in 2019. Jeremy, buy or sell Gavin O'Connor directing Bradley Cooper in Atlantic Wall?
Oh, I buy that. I buy Bradley Cooper as an actor. I buy Gavin O'Connor as a director. I buy all of it. I buy the premise. There's something about a lone soldier behind enemy lines in the hands of a director like Gavin O'Connor and an actor like Bradley Cooper. I feel like this is a perfect storm of something I definitely want to see. Strong buy.
Kristian.
Yeah, it's a buy for me also. I'm a big Gavin O'Connor fan, and Bradley Cooper, when he's in these type of roles, really shines. And I agree with Jeremy. It's like it's like Bradley Cooper's Lone Survivor.
Right.
Basically what this one is. And,
Right.
and I loved that film. I love what Peter Berg did with that film. So I'm interested to see what Gavin O'Connor and Bradley Cooper could do with this.
I completely buy this. I mean, the dude is a terrific actor. And after watching, The Accountant again, we already knew Gavin O'Connor was a good director. And then what he did with The Accountant, I still think it's a crying shame that more of you guys have not seen The Accountant, because it is a really decent movie. I had a very good time with that film. I think more people need to check it out. So yeah, for me, it's a big buy. Schnepp?
It's a buy for me. I just want him to get on that Green Hornet first, man. Don't forget about us, Gavin. I know you're going back to World War II. We got to get that Hornet going. So,
All right, what's next?
While it did take a while to get Matt Damon back into the Bourne franchise, the wait paid off as Jason Bourne took in $415 million worldwide. So the question now becomes, is there another movie in the Bourne franchise? Producer Frank Marshall addressed the question in a recent interview with Yahoo Movies UK, saying, "So right now we're taking a pause, and then we're going to dive back in and try to find a story. We did leave it wide open at the end of the movie to continue on in Bourne's world, so we'll see what we can come up with." Schnepp, buy or sell another movie in the Bourne franchise?
the picture is freaking me out. Is that two Matt Damons? One Matt Damon look at another one?
Yes.
That's really weird. If
Big
that
story.
happens, if that's they're like, there's
They
two
clone Matt
there's
Damon.
two Bournes.
The
Yeah,
Bourne clone.
I buy it, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while. I feel like, the movie made enough money to validate a sequel, but I don't know if they're all into making a sequel. So, I mean, we'll see.
I'm actually going to sell it. I was one of the guys who was like, yes, make another Bourne movie. And I think it was worth doing it. And they did it. And frankly, it disappointed me. I liked it. I walked out going, I'm glad I saw it. But it was not worthy of the Bourne franchise name. It just was not on that level. And honestly, making $40-something million, that's, for most movies, for 90% of the movies that come out, that's great. For Bourne, I think they were hoping for more. And I think I'm ready for them to let this go. Now, another comment that was made in the same interview was that they said there were no plans for another Jeremy Renner installment, which honestly, I actually thought the Jeremy Renner movie was actually pretty solid. Again, not quite up to Bourne standards, but I thought as its own movie was pretty good. But I think it's wise not to pursue that, and I kind of think they should let Bourne go at this point. What do you think?
Well, to quote Yoda, "Stop it now." No, I'm gonna buy that there's gonna be a sequel, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm with you as far as the overall movie. I was looking forward to Jason Bourne, and it was a big disappointment. I did not like the film too much, but in my review, and even when we were talking about it on the show, I said that it was left open to where I still wanted to see more. I want to learn more because I want a mulligan from this movie. I want to see, because I know that there was parts of it. He was still Bourne. There were still things. It's the story that they told and the way that they did stuff. And certain actors, like we were talking yesterday about Alicia Vikander.
Vikander, yeah, she was pretty decent in it.
I thought she was all right.
Yeah.
I don't need to see her in the next one. I want to see him go off and do something else. Don't give me the same story that you gave me in the first three and then try to do with this one. It didn't work. Give me something else with him. Maybe he's got to team up with someone else. Maybe not necessarily Renner, but somebody else. He's got to do some other kind of mission. This is it, though, after that, because, Matt Damon's 42, 43 years old, and Tom Cruise has proven you could be a little older than that and still be an action star. So, but I say give him one more.
Here's the thing, though. If they do another one, I absolutely guarantee Alicia Vikander will be in it, because she's now, that character is the replacement for the blonde. The blonde, the one who gets.
Oh, right. I don't want to spoil it.
Who's in all of them, but she's the replacement for that. I just spoil it. You don't care.
The 10 things I hate about you, girl. I can't think of her name either. Why can't I not think of her
Blonde,
name?
round-faced, cool lady.
Yeah, it's I think they should have the poster of the two Bourne faces and call it Bourne Again, just because.
Goal! gold.
There you
That's
go.
gold.
You know what? It's yours. It's for free.
Born again. I love it.
That said, I'm selling it because I got to go on the facts of what I've seen, and the Renner one I thought was all right, but again, not the original Bourne trilogy quality and caliber. And then we have Jason Bourne, which wasn't up to par with any of it. I just got to go on what I've seen. It looks like they're running out of ideas. I felt like Jason Bourne was a best of Bourne compilation rather than its own thing, and so I'm gonna go ahead and say, you know what, the Bourne trilogy is great. I have it on Blu-ray and I enjoy it, so I say we let it go.
All right, what's next?
Sony Pictures has released a new trailer for the upcoming sci-fi film Passengers. The trailer is a showcase for the original song by Imagine Dragons called Levitate, and does give a bit more footage from the movie with a heavy focus on the romance between Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. The movie is directed by the Imitation Game's Morton Tildum and will open on December 21st. John Byer saw the latest trailer for Passengers.
I sell it, and I sell it pretty hard. Look, one of the things that I've kind of observed, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but is that when movies project a split identity, like they don't, when a movie kind of advertises that they don't have a real grasp on what is the identity of this movie, and they start putting out, well, this trailer's for the guys, and then this trailer's for so the girls will be to see this movie's for you too. It's like, you can put out one identity that does kind of speak to both. This felt like pandering. Mm-hmm. Now, to be fair, all movie marketing, to some degree or another, is by nature pandering. I get that. I totally do. But this felt so out of step with what they have shown us so far. It gives me, number one, a lot of doubts about the movie myself. And number two, it gives me doubts that the studio has a lot of confidence in this thing. Plus, it's just a badly put together piece. It didn't felt needed. And this coming from a guy who I've been looking forward to this movie for a long time, have not been impressed by the marketing campaign so far. We've seen lots of great movies, especially in the last couple of years, that have had bad marketing campaigns and surprised us. I hope this is one of them, but I got to sell this thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm selling it also. I haven't really been excited about this movie at all, except when it was initially announced, because I'm fans of everyone involved. I love the Imitation Game, and I'm a Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence fan, and then I saw that first trailer, didn't care. Then and I know we talk about reshoots all the time, but when there were those rumored reshoots with Chris Pratt when he just left like a month ago or 2 months ago, that's so close to the release, that was scary. We didn't see a first trailer for God knows how long, and now you get the music video of them dancing around and doing God knows what. So yeah, I'm gonna pass on it. I know I'm gonna see it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it's a good movie, but who cares?
Jeremy.
Yeah, I get the want to pitch an original song and then show clippings of the movie, but I do completely agree with you. It's pandering. I believe in the trailer, the reaction. I guess the music video reaction that Wendy and I did. I called it Teen Angst Nonsense,
which, by the way, is up on our Collider Video YouTube channel right now. Go see Jeremy and Wendy's reaction to this video.
Complete that pitch, bam! But yeah, I completely agree. It is. It went from this interesting sci-fi that I'm looking forward to teen angst nonsense where they're just roping in the Twilight crowd. Don't worry, you have this here. It just really looks like it was pandering to a demographic that initially the movie wasn't pitched forward, and it made me step back and go, oh God, I hope not. So sell it.
Schnepp.
Yeah, this movie is derailing itself. I mean, from the original concept when we all heard about it like a few years back, it's like, oh cool. Sounds
such
like
a cool sounding concept.
Yeah, an adult science fiction, crazy, weird drama, and then the poster, boring.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there's nothing there except two faces. Then the very first trailer felt like they gave away a lot of the film, and it felt like, well, there must be a lot more. With this trailer, with like music by Coldplay knockoffs or whatever, it's like, it's a horrible trailer, and it reminded me of Edge of Tomorrow. That, remember that weird scene that they had a song, and you're like, what is this movie? It's like the studio doesn't know what they have. I mean, they should just, I don't know. It's a
Let's
real
hope
bummer.
it's
It's that love transcends space, Schnepp.
That's right.
Love transcends
They both
space.
jump away in astronaut suits, and I don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm still going to see the film, but this trailer bums me out.
I do hope that they do an Edge of Tomorrow thing where it doesn't look good and then ends
great.
up
Yes.
being great. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, look, yeah, I mean, that's exactly what Edge of Tomorrow was. So, hey, maybe we can see that again. All right, guys, listen, we do this show live, and as such, we like to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions. Make sure you start sending in your questions now. Just make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video. Start firing in your questions, and Wendy will pick some questions out to ask at the end of the show. Now, we have a series here on Collider called crash course that we like to do that takes a deeper look into specific issues within the world of movies. Our latest one is on Rogue One and everything you need to know about it before the movie opens. And what we like to do on Wednesdays here is show you this week's. So here's this week's crash course. Check it out.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It's coming out. We're getting it. And it happens on December 16th, 2016. This is the first time, the very first time a live-action Star Wars movie, it's veered off the main saga storyline. And you probably know that. The person next to you might know that. But some might have questions. Collider Crash Course is here to set the scene and get you ready for Rogue One. Let's start with the most simple question. Hey, when does this movie take place on the Star Wars timeline? It's simple. Rogue One is set right before Episode 4. So yep, hold on to your power converters. It's technically another prequel. Hold on, calm down, take it easy. Don't let one little word scare you off. There are 19 years between Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope. Rogue One is pressed right up against Episode 4. So yeah, this guy's gonna be around, and that's General Jan Dodonna. Mon Mothma will be there. That guy won't be there. We also get new rebels, the ones mentioned here in A New Hope, the opening crawl. That's actually referencing these new rebels. Jyn Erso, she's a scrappy former criminal with a rebellious spirit, and she's leading the team. Captain Cassian Andor, an intelligence officer, he's got a cool jacket and a cooler mustache. Chirrut Imwe, a blind spiritual warrior who can apparently feel the Force, and his friend and protector, Baze Malbus. We've also got an ex-Imperial cargo pilot, Bodhi Rook, and K2SO, a reprogrammed Imperial Enforcer droid. They'll all be getting a little help and guidance from Saw Gerrera. Saw's no stranger to the rebellion, as he also appeared in the Clone Wars TV show. That's what we do know. What we don't know, is he gonna be bald, or will he have this great head of hair? I mean, look at that, that's a head of hair. By the end of Revenge of the Sith, Chancellor Palpatine has become the Emperor. From there, the Republic becomes the Empire overnight, proving they had a ton of Imperial uniforms pre-ordered. Almost immediately after that, the rebellion started to sprout seeds, and senators like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma begin building a way to take back the Republic that they had just lost. This led to the formation of small rebel cells taking on the Empire independently of each other. In answer to those pesky rebels, the Empire builds the Death Star. You know, the Death Star. It's round, it's silver. It's definitely not a moon. The Death Star had been in the works for a while, as the plans for the ultimate weapon are seen toward the end of Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. By the end of Revenge of the Sith, the construction of the Death Star is well underway. Why has it taken over 19 years for the Empire to finish the project? Could the long delay be centered around the very weapon that puts to death in Death Star? Rogue One seems primed to answer that question. The super laser that can destroy planets is actually powered by kyber crystals, and the science behind that comes from the research of Galen Erso, Jyn's father. For more on Galen, his research, and how he came to join the Empire's cause, read the most recent canon novel, Catalyst. Another character that debuts in Catalyst is Galen's longtime friend, Orson Krennic. Krennic is currently protecting the final stages of the Death Star's construction with the help of his feared Death Troopers. So it appears that the Death Star is just about to wreak havoc in the galaxy, but the Empire has to test it. It looks like the rebels have learned about the weapon's existence and the test, so they decide to steal the plans, and we assume that's where Rogue One begins. So where are we going in Rogue One? There are two prominent planets worth noting. Jedha is a mystical planet steeped in the Force, seen as a mecca for Force believers in the galaxy. Then there's Scarif, where the Death Star is currently in orbit as it nears completion. Now for the big question. We were told long ago that this movie was not going to have any Jedi in it. But don't worry. There will be someone very familiar in the movie that does use the Force. And he's got a lightsaber. No, it's not Kit Fisto. The Emperor killed him. Easily. Really, really easily. It's everyone's favorite Dark Lord of the Sith. That's who's showing up. It's Darth Vader. He won't be the main villain, and he won't be in the movie that much. But without a doubt, Lord Vader's presence will have meaning and purpose. Or maybe he's just taking a business meeting with Director Krennic. So there you have it. You have the time period, how and why the rebels came to be, what the Empire has been building for the last 19 years, new characters, planets, and Biston. We didn't mention Biston. He's a monkey in space. A space monkey. That's adorable. Oh, wait. How can we forget about the Bothans? Where are the Bothans? Many Bothans died to steal these plans, right? No, they didn't. They stole the plans to the second Death Star. Stop tweeting me about this. So maybe we'll see them in Rogue 2. For now, we're rooting for Jyn Erso and her band of rebels.
So, hey, first of all, good job, Kristian. That was great. So just to let you guys know, this segment, Crash Course on Movie Talk, we do put them up a couple of days early on our YouTube channel. Go and check them out on our YouTube channel. We've got an entire playlist just called Crash Course videos because we do put those up on Mondays before we air them here on the show. So thanks so much for that. I also want to remind you guys that Movie Talk is not the only show on our channel today. A little bit earlier today, the newest episode of Nightmares went up. Go and check that out. That went up earlier today. And also keep your eyes open on our channel throughout the day for any big breaking news. With all of that, let's go to mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address in the show, just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. We pick a couple out every day. So Ashley, what do we got?
Johnny writes, "Hey Collider crew, with the upcoming release of Assassin's Creed, I've been thinking a lot about the future Uncharted movie. Uncharted is my favorite game series, and to me, the key to this film working is who is cast as Nathan Drake. Personally, I like Jensen Ackles from Supernatural. He has the right look and charm needed to play the role. Who are a few actors you could see in the role? Thanks for taking my question."
Well, there were a couple stereotypical ones that get thrown out there, but actually do work. Like, you hear the names Bradley Cooper and Chris Pratt thrown out a lot of potential roles, and it's just, okay, that's just because he's a hot name right now. For Drake, that's actually not a bad fit for either one of those guys. Like, Supernatural has been my favorite TV show for a very, very long time. I'm a big Jensen Ackles fan. I don't know if he's particularly right for this role. I'm going to differ with you a little bit. It is extremely important who they cast in the lead role in this. Absolutely it is. But it's not the make or break thing. You can cast the best person in the world. If it's a bad script, it doesn't matter who you cast in. It does not matter. It won't mean one lick of difference if it's not a solid script. If you have a great script and kind of do okay with the casting, the movie can still succeed. I'm going to say the script is the most important thing, but I will go with the obvious stereotypes. I really do think Cooper or Pratt would make a great fit for this role. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to agree with you, and I'll tell you why. Is because of where we are with video game movies in general. It is the dark times right now, and we have to see what happens with Assassin's Creed. They're going to try to make this movie whether Assassin's Creed does well or not. I think that if Assassin's Creed doesn't do well, this will be the movie that is the golden child. This could be it. But in order to do that for this particular movie and getting the talent involved, you've got to lead. I'm not always for leading with star talent. But right now, with a movie like this, very similar to what they're doing with Assassin's Creed, with leading with Michael Fassbender, you lead with a big star. And I think a guy like Chris Pratt and Bradley Cooper both have the chops to pull what Nathan Drake is as a character. His humor, the fact that he's a badass. He can, there's a lot of things about him. What I like about Drake, why it's one of my favorite games, is how human the dude is, but yet can still do these kind of extraordinary things.
Yeah.
So, and I think both those guys can pull it off. But that doesn't mean I'm opposed to getting someone an unknown actor that's great for the job. It's just that is just a different climb. They got to surround him then with some huge stars.
Schnepp, what do you think?
I'd like to see Channing Tatum. Like, I see him more as Drake than Gambit.
Well, yes.
So
I see him more as a plate of French fries more than I see him as Gambit, but that's all right.
I mean, we're all on a certain Gambit tip over here, but Channing Tatum or even Chris Pine. I think those guys would be good.
Chris Pine wouldn't be a bad one. I like that one. What about you, Jeremy?
Well, I was. I don't want to be an echo chamber here, but it was Guardians of the Galaxy that brought me over to. I'm like, oh, that Chris Pratt guy could totally do this. I do want to see Bruce Campbell as Sully, though. That would be amazing. I think he would be a great Sully. But I mean, someone who has that comedic riff. So basically, if it was like 2004-ish, which is a few years before the first Uncharted came out, it would have been Nathan Fillion, no question.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Completely. So you got to find the best Nathan Fillion, who's a bit younger and more fit for the role now in 2016 or 2020 or whenever this thing will never get made. It's all hypothetical. So who are we kidding? But mine would be Chris Pratt, but Bruce Campbell for Sully.
All right, what's next?
Hank writes, "Hey everyone, I have a question regarding Superman's death in V vs. S and the DCEU as a whole. At the end of BVS, we see a newspaper article stating that Superman died and another article stating that Clark Kent was killed reporting Gotham battle. If Superman comes back to life, wouldn't he have to live under a different identity now that everyone thinks that both he and Clark are dead? Your thoughts and insight."
That is a wonderful question, actually, because they said Clark's dead. Mm-hmm. Now, that's one thing you can get away with because there was a big disaster. I mean, you had this giant alien destroying so much crap to say, hey, Superman died, and by the way, this other people died too. You can cover that up. Superman comes back from the dead. Miraculous newspaper reporter also comes back from the dead, who surprisingly looks like the hero without glasses. That would be too much. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't thought of it. I had not thought of it. That really does present a problem. I don't see how they do Superman coming back without him either having to A, ditch the secret identity, which I think would be a shame, or B, having to assume a different identity, which would also be a shame. I don't know how they get around this. Schnepp, do you see what poke holes in this do you see in the logic here? How can you get through this?
He spins around the world and turns back.
Bingo!
Yeah,
Yes!
No, it's Clark Kent is dead. I mean, Superman lives, Clark Kent dead. That's
right.
I mean, there's no return from that, newspaper. What is he going to be like? I was stuck under this rubble. Like it's too
For
late.
3
He was in a
years.
coma.
They had double funerals, so it's like, I mean, I think that's at least the DCEU with the next 2 Justice League movies and the Superman sequels. Clark Kent is a non-entity.
Jeremy.
Yeah, the bummer is it really does kind of showcase. Again, I do want to say great question also because it's one of those things where I think about, but I hadn't really thought about it for this. But once in a while, I'm always like, if something happens to Superman, how do they get around that for Clark Kent? But it does show how the DC cinematic universe jumped the gun a bit. We didn't get to see enough of the dynamic of Clark Kent and Superman and that duality in this universe. We didn't get to see enough of Superman be Superman before he died, might come back and might actually be a little bad, so it didn't get to marinate enough, so it is a tragedy. But I do think that Clark Kent's dead. Now Superman hangs out in the Kent farm away from everybody, and no one gets to see Clark Kent or Superman or Kal-El be Kal-El on the farm. I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to hang out in the farm.
That's actually his fortress of solitude.
yeah,
now.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. What do you think?
Everybody knew when that Jesus guy came back and he moved the rock, he was still Jesus. I think that it's the same thing. I think that Superman has always had parallels, obviously, to Jesus, and I think Schnepp's absolutely right. He's going to be straight up, he's a Kal-El. That's who he is, and I think that that's what this story calls for now. I think that even in the next Man of Steel movie, when they do that, he's going to be Kal-El. I think that it was about him learning to be Clark and learning to be Kal-El at the same time in the first movie. That time is gone, and with the Justice League and everything else happening, it's going to be too hard to keep switching back and forth.
And he sacrificed himself in Batman v Superman for Earth, so that if he does come back, everyone's going to know that. In fact, he knows he's a protector for Earth. That's probably going to lead into something with the Justice League. So.
All right, guys, where I said we'd save a little bit of time for your Twitter questions at the end of the show, and we're going to do that right now. Once again, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video and fire in those questions. Wendy, what have you picked out?
First one comes from Lonnie Jones, who writes, is Assassin's Creed missing out on marketing strategy by not releasing a game before the movie comes out?
You know what? That's actually a really good point. It probably would have been smart if they tried to piggyback the release of a game with the movie. However, if you are the producers of the film, you don't hold yourselves captive to the release date of the game. It would have been pretty smart if they could have coordinated it. What do you think, Schnepp?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe they just couldn't get it together with the release date. So, I mean, it would have been a smart move.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I agree on that. And now I'm thinking of a world where now you get a video game based off of the movie, based off of the video game. It's just like that 3 steps just kind of blows my mind. But yeah, it should stand on itself, but it would have been a smart thing marketing-wise to do that. But I hope the movie just stands on itself.
Kristian?
Who are the marketing geniuses behind this? I mean, they definitely 100% should have put this out at the same time. It was a missed opportunity, but what are you going to do?
All right, what's next?
Whoops. Okay. Jonathan Peck writes, what are the odds that Rogue One stays in #1 in week 2 with Assassin's Creed Passengers and Sing releasing?
You know what? The real wild card in that one is Sing. As an animated family film in the holiday season, that's the wild card. I still say a good 75% chance Rogue One stays at #1, but it will all depend on the word of mouth and how good the movie is. None of us have seen the movie yet. If it's great and people start buzzing that this is great, 100% it'll be #1 the next week. But if it's okay and whatever, and you got a movie like Sing coming out, I don't think Passengers is going to be a threat at all. It could be like a 50% chance. But so I'm going to split the difference right now. I'm going to say right now 75% chance.
How many times did you see Phantom Menace in the movie theater?
18 or 19 times.
100% is number 2 because of that reason alone. Star Wars fans are maniacs, including myself. And if there is for week 2, even if it's not good, we're going to convince ourselves at first that, oh, no, maybe there's things that we didn't see, and you're going to go spend the money on the ticket, and then you'll start to analyze it, and then by week 3 and 4, then the numbers will drop. Week 2 is going to be pretty big because you get to see Vader on the big screen again. Sing's going to be number 2. There's no doubt about it.
Schnepp.
Darth Vader, man. Come on. The movie's not going to suck. Don't listen to Kristian.
I didn't say it's going to suck.
I can't believe that Kristian said the movie was going to suck.
Hashtag, it's trending right now. Kristian says Rogue One
right.
sucks.
Darth Harloff.
Yeah. Darth Harloff.
And the Knights Renner in the movie.
What? Yeah,
Stop
I think
it now.
100% it's going to be number 1. You cannot stop the Force.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I always say never underestimate the power of the kids movie or the animated movie. It is the wild card in this whole thing. The variable that I have to touch on to play devil's advocate is the fact that if people come out of the movie, they're like, oh, it's great. The ending's a little twisted and everyone dies. Parents might be like, yeah, we might go see Sing together on Christmas as a family.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. But I do think, I agree with Kristian. It's like, we Star Wars fans are nuts. Like when a Star Wars movie comes out, we get tunnel vision. There is nothing left. There is no girlfriend. We don't think about sex. We just want Star Wars. And we just go watch that thing 78 times in its first week alone. So yeah, it's a good chance that Star Wars Rogue One may remain number 1.
What if Sing sucks?
Well, I mean, that's
Early
the
buzz has been
other
good,
wild
but that's
card.
also another
It's
thing.
still on its opening weekend. It'll still
Opening
do
weekend,
great.
it'll still do well,
It'll still
right.
do great. But will it do great enough to overtake Rogue One? We will have to see. All right, what's next?
Blake Skinner writes, do any of y'all personally have an IP that hasn't been made into a movie yet that you would most want to see?
Nothing. I mean, the one thing I keep harping on that I want to see a Hollywood version, big blockbuster thing, is Space Battleship Yamato, also known as not Battle of the Planets. That's G-Force.
Macross.
No,
that's not Macross. What is it?
Crap! Why am I Star Blazers? Sorry,
Blazers.
I almost missed that. Yeah, I'm dying to see that. Not just because it's something I liked as a kid. I think given the full motion picture treatment, it could be epic in scale. That's the one that usually stands out to me. And you guys have anything?
Yeah, I think that today actually is a perfect time to ask this question because Mask just came out. A new comic came out from Mask today. So I think that that's actually one I've wanted to see for a very long time. And maybe that can be the cool G.I. Joe movie that I finally get to see.
A little bird told me that is in development,
Good.
Kristian.
I
Yes.
like that.
I want to see either Confederacy of Dunces or Miracle Man. Let's go right around the scale there. So.
I've always tossed out. I mean, basically, all the things that I love are video games, and they're too big to contain into a 2-hour story. But something that takes place in the Mass Effect universe, I'd like to see that because it's just a really intriguing and really fleshed out universe. So I think that's a good one.
Well, Fing Fang Foom says that Hollywood Squares should be the next.
Hey, an intriguing behind-the-scenes look at the drama.
Oh, you're right.
Behind, between Whoopi Goldberg and the
Gilbert
insult,
Gottfried?
or Gilbert Gottfried or the insult comic dog. I mean, that would be great. All right, what's next?
Next one comes from, sorry, I just lost my spot. There it is. The Batfleck writes, what are your thoughts on the rumor casting of Jamie Dornan as Green Lantern? Keep up the great work.
No,
Eh.
no thanks. Who?
50 Shades guy.
Chain me up. I'm a weirdo.
God, really? No. Why? What?
Slap me silly. I'm Green Lantern.
Killing me.
To be fair to Jamie Dornan though, he's also good in that show, the Netflix show where he's the serial killer. I think it's unfair to judge off of that particular
The
film,
Killing?
which is all the killing.
Well, sure,
It's
because
the only-
Dakota Johnson's a better
the
actress than she gets credit
Right.
for.
Yes,
in that,
but
so.
it's fair to do it because you look and that's the only thing a lot of people know him from. But he does have other work that he's better. But I still don't think he's good for.
Yeah, he was in Once Upon a Time, and he was just all right. in there,
Was it
too.
okay?
Yeah.
I didn't
All
see
right,
him.
what's next?
Jack Van Ord says, are Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg becoming today's best actor and director pairing?
It's getting there.
As long as Scorsese and DiCaprio, I mean, it's been a little while since they've done one, but they're going to do another one
Right.
again probably soon. As long as those two are still making films together, that's the standard. But look, they're doing a really good job together, those two. I mean, I really liked Deepwater Horizon. I thought it was way better than I thought it was going to be. They've worked very well together before, so it's good. They've done real good.
Because if you look at Lone Survivor, which I love, I think it's an underrated film, and then I missed Deepwater Horizon, but I hear great things, and the people are raving about Patriots Day. So they look, that's a great combination.
Yeah, it's funny because I always said Peter Berg is hit and miss for me. The hits all have Mark Wahlberg in them. So I have to say this is a really solid duo. Best duo since Scorsese and DiCaprio.
Yeah, it's to keep them together. You know, Patriots Day. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Not Johnny Depp and Tim Burton?
All right, let's take 2 more.
AJ Rose writes, what do James Cameron films do that give them untouchable success at the box office? Why can't other films top $2 billion?
You know,
It's lightning in a bottle.
Oh, I was going to say, there's an accessibility to James Cameron. It's really funny. I was thinking about this not too long ago because I was pondering what is it about James Cameron films that totally crush in the box office. First of all, his name. Second of all, he makes a movie every 10 years or whatever. Third of all, Entourage Season 2. Fourth of all, there is a thing where he sticks to a formula, and his formula works, and it's accessible for a lot of people who enjoy action, who enjoy comedy, who just enjoy a movie that, I mean, technologically speaking, they break ground. Story-wise, they don't break ground, but it's the familiarity and the fun that people have with his movies that I think just the people gravitate to his films. But that's my take. Joe, you were going to say something.
Look, let's not forget, not everything James Cameron touches crosses $1 billion, let alone $2 billion. He makes some great movies. I still think my all-time favorite action film is True Lies. I love that movie with such a deep passion. It's incredible. I love that. He's made a lot of great films. But look, he caught lightning in a bottle with Titanic. Avatar, he might have got lucky with that because that captured everybody's imagination for a moment. It has kind of completely disappeared off the pop culture subconscious since. Like, I always talk about how, look, you want to see something really rooted in the pop culture subconscious? Wait till Halloween and see what people are dressing up as. That first Halloween, so many Na'vi walking around, right? So many of them. You don't see anybody referencing it anymore, dressing as it. So I think he got a little bit lucky with that one, although it's a very, very good movie. I'm not saying otherwise. It is. It's a very good movie. But don't just automatically, everything he touches turn to absolute gold, because that's not quite the case. But he has captured lightning bottle a couple times.
I think what he's also done is stepped up the game and changed the game every time he puts a movie out, like as far as with technology and just, I mean, look at what he did with, and also he makes a movie every 10 years. But if you look at Terminator 2, even Terminator 1, what he did with the effects era, Stan Winston and everything too that he did back then in '84 was pretty revolutionary and different. Then with Terminator 2, The Abyss, but with the big movies you're talking about, with Titanic, that was a movie that was destined to fail. It didn't, because he did something very different with history, and then also did things with the technology, the way that with the amount of screens that they put it in. It was very different the way that it was just released in January. Also, different strategy he does. And then with Avatar, the fact that it surpassed Titanic was unbelievable. But it was also, it started, and people might go, "Damn you, Cameron, for this," but it started the 3D fad. Because that is a 3D experience. People forget, and people like to take craps on Avatar. But when you look at that movie, when you go back and remember what it was like, you still have not been able to capture that kind of magic in 3D. I don't care what you think about the story and that it was Dances with Wolves and everything else. When you're looking at the screen, you were there. You were on that planet.
No, I agree. That was the best 3D movie that's come out. That it basically pushed 3D
Some water,
back.
man.
Hang on a second. Thanks.
All right.
Got some water there. Yeah, it's literally couldn't talk. Yeah, 3D was jump started from Avatar, and then we've got all these digital conversions and everything's in 3D now. But honestly, when Avatar comes back, and he's got 4 movies back to back, Avatar was also really emotionally gripping, just like Titanic. So he started out as a special effects guy. He did special effects for Battle Beyond the Stars, did a lot of his own storyboards and work for like Terminator, Aliens. I think Avatar 2 is going to push that 3D boundary that we're so used to. Like, none of us really like going to see 3D movies. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I think Avatar 2 is going to push the game.
Yeah, and also you brought up a good point, Kristian, where it's a technological showcase every time he does something.
Right.
And as someone who, when I unbox a video game system, I just like the smell of it. I would literally wear the smell of new electronic if it were a controller. I swear to you. And so there's that anticipation that builds, at least for me and my friends, when the movie leading up to the film. Then when it's released, we all just have a good time with it.
Yeah.
I still to this day think there's only been 2 films that have ever been made that are worth seeing in 3D. One is the first Avatar, although I don't get anything less out of it when I watch it in 2D, and the other is Doctor Strange. Those are the 2 films I think.
I'll throw Dredd in there, but then I agree.
I love Dredd. I didn't think the 3D
Oh,
did
really?
that much
Dredd,
for me
okay.
I
personally.
love Dredd.
Yeah.
All right, last question of the day.
Last one comes from Joe Salvatore 80, who writes, "My question for the panel: will Jon and Ken win their match against Sam and Freddy? And Jon, are you and Ken scared of him?"
All right, well, okay, so for those of you who don't know, Ken Knapsack and myself are taking on Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sam Witwer, 2 of the cast members of Star Wars Rebels. They play Kanan and Darth Maul, respectively, and an all Star Wars movie trivia schmodown. This is practically laughable. I mean, that's great. They call themselves the Force Bros. That's great. Hang 10, do whatever you're going to do. Ken and I are the holocron. I mean, that's basically it. There is nothing and nobody who could stop Ken and I in Star Wars movie trivia. It's not going to happen. I mean, hey, look, Freddie, I love your cookbook. Good for you. But it's the one win you're going to have in 2016 because it's not going to be this.
Wow, I got to tell you, man, I don't know if there's anyone better at trash talk than you, but you got to look out for Whitwer, man. That guy is an animal. I'm just saying, watch out. That happens on December 20th.